Hi guys, it's Reagan and welcome back to another video. This video is extra special because it is the first book haul of the year. There's something about my January book haul that tends to be my favorite. I think mostly because most of my book purchasing for the past few weeks has been entirely fueled by other booktubers' favorite books of the year. So I'm dubbing this rather large unboxing because yes, I did buy too many books. Books I bought because of BookTube. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. Starting, of course, with my January Book of the Month selects, and I'm also partnering up with them for this video. If you're not familiar, Book of the Month is an online bookish subscription service, and every single month they curate a selection of books from a variety of different authors, genres, and voices in the community. They're always new releases, they're always hardcover, and they're sent directly to your door. If you're not interested in any of the titles for a month, it's super easy to skip. I will say that January selects were pretty much on fire this month. There were so many books I wanted and narrowing it down was difficult, but one of the books is also one of my most anticipated releases of the year. So to be able to get it for such a steal, we love to see it. I of course have an offer code for you guys. If you use my code Peruse Project, you're able to get your first book, a new hardcover, for only $9.99. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into my selects. So the first book I have to feature, I feel like we're all just screaming to get to, and that is Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. Yes, Hellbent is one of the selects for Book of the Month this month, and Ninth House was a previous selection. You're able to grab the entire duology for a fantastic price. I have been waiting for this book's release now for about 2 years with the rest of the world, and I cannot wait to read it this month. But if you're not familiar, this is the sequel to Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, which is Leigh Bardugo's kind of like dark academia, horror, occult, mystery story. In it, we follow our main character, Alex, who's given a second chance at life and also just an entirely new life from a hospital bed in California. Shortly after her recovery, she immediately moves onto the Yale campus and enrolls within the university. And she's basically hired to not just be a student there, but also begin to investigate all of these secret societies that exist on campus. Many of them claim to have access to magical powers and the occult, and it's up to Alex to try to figure out if these claims are real or not. Therefore, she finds herself in a lot of different situations and constantly surrounded by very pompous individuals, but things really begin to escalate when a murder happens near campus and Alex is determined to figure out what happened. Ninth House was truly amazing. I loved it so much. It is a very, very dark read with lots of trigger warnings. That being said, it ended quite explosively, so I have been dying to pick up the sequel. Now I have it in my hands thanks to Book of the Month, and I'll be reading this very, very soon. And the second book I grabbed from Book of the Month this month is another just book I've heard so much buzz about and also feels like one I will not be able to put down, and that is Age of Vice by Deepti Kapoor. This is said to be kind of like thriller meets family saga meets organized crime, like intense novel. That entire combination just absolutely calls out to me. This story follows one family through many generations in India, and it's said that this is an epic, action-packed story propelled by the seductive wealth, startling corruption, and bloodthirsty violence of the Wadia family. Loved by some, loathed by others, and feared by all. I mean, honestly, say no more. Again, this is a book that I've heard excellent things about, and it also feels like something everyone is sort of picking up at the moment, so I was really excited to be able to get it in my box this month. Guys, those were my main two selects from Book of the Month this month. Again, I'll have my offer code and a link to their site down below, but let's go ahead and dive into the other books I've picked up recently. First set of books are from Barnes & Noble. It felt like the right place to spend the beginning of this year and shop for some books. I did miss their hardcover sale, tragically, but I did grab some really incredible titles I'm really looking forward to picking up. The first is Empire of Exiles by Aaron M. Evans. I've sort of seen this book floating around as a new release to keep your eye on in the fantasy reviewing space, and this also combines one of my favorite combinations with fantasy, and that is that it's also a mystery crime thriller. There's something about like a procedural crime story in a fantasy world that I just think is such a fascinating and fun combination. Tagline for this book is that it follows a scribe, a mage, an investigator, and an archivist, four unlikely heroes that all have to work together to try to save the empire from a dangerous secret. The story is set in an empire where 23 years prior, a very violent rebellion occurred. But society has sort of since moved on. The evil duke was killed, the princess disappeared, and the very powerful sorceress was imprisoned. Present day though, a young apprentice apprentice is sent on an errand by a very pompous noble to pick up a set of magical items, but once he does, he realizes that these are the very tools in that very rebellion. On top of that, there's also a very violent murder that has rocked the city, and there is a good chance that all of these things are very much connected. And from there, I believe we begin investigating this murder and also begin to look into the sort of political intrigue that is surrounding this murder through the points of views of the characters I had previously mentioned. This just sounds like a book I will love, also one that could be an absolute page turner. And as I already mentioned, I just feel like this is such a winning combination. Next, honestly, might be a bit of a surprise, and it's still a bit of a surprise to me that I picked this book up, but that is Theft of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan. I've read this book. I've read this book many, many years ago, and I recall just thinking it was okay. I was shocked at the time. I did not love it as much as everyone else, but this is the first book to the Rhaenyra Revelations series by this author. I decided to give this book and this series another try because I'm currently reading the Legends of the First Empire series by the same author, and they're all set within the same world. The Legends of the First Empire series is like an ancient establishment series, and this takes place thousands of years after the events of that. But because I'm loving the Legends of the First Empire so much, I'm thinking that it's worth checking this out again because I do like Michael J. Sullivan's writing, and perhaps with time and patience, this could also be a new favorite series. The vibe of this one is very, very different. It follows two like mercenary warriors, and their names are Royce and Hadrian Blackwater, two very beloved characters within the fantasy space, and I think we just follow them on their adventures. They're framed incorrectly for a crime, but they're also very, very capable. And through this series, I believe we just kind of see them traverse the empire and take on a variety of different tasks. I'm looking forward to reading this again. I really hope I like it much better the second time around, but there's only one way to find out. But yes, I did buy this. And then the last book I picked up at Barnes & Noble is Babylon's Ashes by James S.A. Corey. This is book 6 to the Expanse series. Book 5 is on my January TBR, so I wanted to ensure to have book 6 ready and waiting for me if I wanted to pick it up right away. I've been talking about the Expanse series a lot on my channel recently, but it's because I'm truly loving it so much. It's a space opera series set in the sort of near future, and there's just so much great conflict, and the plot is so fast-paced. It also follows such a huge cast of characters that it really stays fresh. I won't go on and on, but because I was missing this book, it was important to me that I added it to my shelf, so I also bought this. From there, let's go ahead and begin opening up my book packages I have laying around. Oh yes. First book I have to show off is The Candy House by Jennifer Egan. This is the sort of sequel to A Visit from the Goon Squad, which is a book I read and really enjoyed last year, so I was really looking forward to picking this up and adding it to my TBR for the year. And this story seems to be playing with consciousness, and particularly we're following a character who invents a piece of technology which allows the user to see and review every memory they've ever had, and also exchange memories with other people as well. But this story is not just a singular point of view. Similar to A Visit from the Goon Squad, we appear to be shifting through many different people's lives and experiences, and also jump around through decades of time. I'm really looking forward to this. It appears to have a similar style to A Visit from the Goon Squad, which I really, really enjoyed. This sort of shifting from one person to the next with no immediately clear reason as to why you're sort of existing within their lives, I found to be a really fascinating reading experience. This has gotten also really good reviews since it's come out, and I'm looking forward to picking this one up. The strange box. I think I can open it with my hands, potentially. Maybe not. Ooh. Oh yes, okay, so this is another one of my pre-orders, and one I kind of want to sneakily add to my January TBR, but we will see. And that is The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. I'm so excited we're getting a new fae-centered story by Holly Black. Obviously, I was really disappointed by her previous release, but I love the Cruel Prince trilogy. I think it's fun, I think it's angsty, and the writing is stunning. I feel like Holly Black really shines when she writes fae worlds and fae characters. It's just delicious to read. This is the first book to a spin-off series, set though in the same world as The Cruel Prince. I'm assuming we'll be running into past characters from that series, but again, there's only one way to find out. And this story is set in the Icy North in the Kingdom of Teeth, and we're following two characters with very complicated pasts, and I think we see them come crashing into each other's lives. I'm hoping this is fun, I'm hoping it's angsty, and just very, very entertaining. Next up, I actually got 2 additional books from Book of the Month because one, the January selection collections were so good. I wanted to add a third book. And two, I got a book from their backlog to add to my collection because it's also just a book I've been dying to pick up. And the first book I have here is A Fire Endless by Rebecca Ross. This is the sequel to A River Enchanted, a book I read last year and absolutely loved. I also got the first one from Book of the Month, so now my duology matches. But I have been dying to pick this book up because, again, just the writing and the world and the characters of the first one just absolutely touched me and like burrowed inside of my heart, if you will. I also felt like it was one of the strongest new fantasy releases of 2022. But if you're not familiar, this is a multi-POV fantasy series set on a very strange island. Here, magic sort of runs wild in the form of elementals. However, though, this island is full of a lot of conflict. The island itself is split in half, with each side kind of housing a different group of people that have hated each other for generations. This hatred has also caused a curse, with one side of the island being lush and full of life, but their magic is very, very dangerous and damages the magic user, where on the other side of the island, the magic is strong, but the land is very barren. At the beginning of book one, there are a series of kidnappings, and we follow our main character who left the island to train as a bard, return home, and become enmeshed in local politics once again, and also is working to try to figure out what in the world is going on. I loved the first one. The ending was incredible. Just everything about it was so entertaining. Really looking forward to see how the plot is going to continue to expand in book two. This is one I'm really hoping to get to this winter, especially because I feel like the writing style is like perfect winter vibes. And the next book I picked up was Lunar Love by Lauren Kwong Jensen. This just sounds like an adorable new rom-com story. I always love collecting these and adding them to my shelf. Ensure that I have a good selection when the mood strikes for picking one of these up. I always fly through them, and this one sounds especially cute, sort of an enemies to lovers situation. It follows our main character Olivia, who is taking over her family's business of matchmaking, which centers around connecting people through the Chinese zodiac calendar. However, though, there's a new dating app that is on the market, sort of taking this traditional idea that our family's been using for generations and sort of ruining it, bringing it forth for the digital age. And she confronts the app developer in this, and they basically immediately dislike each other. They both agree that whoever can first find the other person a perfect match through using their own business model, then that person wins. Of course, things begin to get very complicated. Again, it sounds cute. The reviews seem to really enjoy it, so I decided to also add it to my shelf. Right, moving on to the next package. The first book I have to show off is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I obviously grabbed this because this is the book club selection for the Cozy Club, which is a podcast I do with Monica. Our book club discussion is at the beginning of February, so obviously I picked this book up and I plan to read it very, very soon. But this is like a cozy murder mystery story, which I've honestly been enjoying as a genre more and more. The setup of this also sounds just truthfully so cute, and it follows a group of individuals who meet every Thursday and try to solve unsolved cold cases. One day, though, when a murder appears literally on their doorstep, the Thursday Murder Club finds themselves in an active investigation. We see them as they work together to try to figure out what in the world is going on. I can't wait to pick this book up. It seems to be a very beloved story, not to mention this is the first book to a series, so hopefully I can just have cozy murder mystery vibes like all year round. The next book I grabbed was definitely one that has been haunting a lot of best books of the year lists, and that is Bunny by Mona Awad. This book just seems to be everywhere, and it's been everywhere for a very long time, and I feel like I finally have been convinced to pick this book up. This is like a classic dark academia occult-esque story following a group of young, very pompous girls at a very prestigious university, but it also seems to be much more than that at the same time. This book has so many like genre tags. It's horror, it's literary fiction, it's occult, it's fantasy, it's magical realism, and a lot of people also say that at some point this book absolutely takes a turn and it just gets wild very, very quickly. On top of just being strange, this book is also kind of a story that appears to be one that you either love or hate. I'm curious to see where I fall on that spectrum. I hope to pick this book up soon and also vlog the experience, but I did buy this as well. And then my last box is a big one, so let's go ahead and open it up and see what's inside. The next book I grabbed is just a beloved author by everyone and also by me. That is The Marriage Portrait by Maggie O'Farrell. I read Hamnet last year and loved it. This is Maggie O'Farrell's newest release that came out in 2022 near the tail end. And basically I knew I needed to add this to my shelf right away because I want to read it as soon as possible. I'm thinking of listening to this particularly via audio, as I did the same with Hamnet, and Maggie O'Farrell's writing is so beautiful and lends itself so well to audio, so I thought this could be a great book to pair with my puzzles, you know? Maggie O'Farrell also, I feel like, has such a way with humanizing and centering figures from history that come from at least very well-known families. We experienced that with Hamnet, which is obviously connected to Shakespeare, and this time we were in Florence during the Renaissance following a duchess from the Medici family. In this story, we follow our main character, who at the beginning of this book is just the obscure third daughter to a grand duke within Florence. Personally, she's absolutely okay with this. She loves the freedom that comes with it. She comes and goes as she pleases and basically is allowed to pursue what she is passionate with. Unfortunately, though, her older sister passes away right before her marriage to a very powerful political figure, and very quickly she is swapped in to replace her sister in this marriage. Our main character is navigating a very scheming court, trying to figure out who she can and cannot trust. She also is trying to navigate her new husband, as she herself is just recently out of girlhood, and this figure is very mysterious and complex to her, and also seems to have a very changing personality. She herself, I think, is most famously known in history for a portrait that she sits in, and I think Maggie O'Farrell is trying to fill in the blanks behind this very famous singular picture of this historical figure and give us a more detailed and emotional forward experience of her life. Again, I'm really looking forward to picking this book up. I love history, and I already know I love this author's writing so much, so I feel like this could be a home run. The book I grabbed is another book I've just seen truly everywhere, and I feel like I'm going to love it, and that is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangyu Mandana. This book just sounds like an absolutely delightful ride, like a heartwarming, cute, captivating story that I need to read immediately. And in this story, we follow our main character, Micah Moon, and she is one of the last witches in all of Britain, in which society you're not just supposed to keep your magic hidden, but you're actually supposed to avoid mingling with other witches, as your powers can sort of cross each other, drawing the attention of regular humans across the land. Therefore, Micah doesn't really have very many people in her life, especially ones that kind of understand her and her powers. She does have one hobby, though, and that is that she actually posts videos online pretending to be a witch, knowing that no one should actually take this seriously. However, somebody does, and one day she receives an invitation to travel to the very mysterious and remote Nowhere House to actually teach 3 young witches magic. She decides to take up this opportunity and quickly becomes entrenched in these young girls' lives, and she also meets a very mysterious man who also lives on the premise. This book just sounds adorable. It really feels like it's going to have some cute romance as well as some found family components. I've heard such fantastic things about it. I honestly was looking for a new kind of heartwarming read, and this feels like it's going to fit the bill perfectly. And the last book I picked up is Other Birds by Sarah Addison Allen. This just sounds like a beautifully written, very atmospheric, magical, literary fiction leaning story. It seems like a very strange and peculiar book as well. A recipe for a story I feel like I could really enjoy. The tagline of this book is an enchanting tale of lost souls, lonely strangers, secrets that shape us, and how the right flock can guide you home. And the synopsis of this book says, down a very small alley in a small coastal town in South Carolina, you will stumble upon a stunning cobblestone building comprised of 5 apartments. And here we're introduced to our main character, Zoe, who has recently arrived at this very building and attempts to try to claim one of these apartments, which was once one of her mother's who just recently passed away. She moves into this new place. She also encounters her neighbors, who are all very strange in their own ways, including a girl on the run, a grieving chef whose comfort food does not comfort them, 2 estranged middle-aged sisters, and 3 ghosts with stories all their own. This book seems to be very character-led, very peculiar, and very much centers this one apartment building and everyone's lives and how they intersect with each other. It also, I feel like, is going to have a lot of bird imagery, as it's mentioned not just on the cover but also in the synopsis quite a few times. I just feel like this is going to be transporting and beautiful and a very strange experience, and I'm really looking forward to reading this. Alrighty guys, that is my very large unboxing book haul. Please let me know down below some books you've picked up recently, as I would love to know. Again, big shout out to Book of the Month for sponsoring this video. I will have a link to their site and my code down below. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon with another video soon. Goodbye.